we could have handled it maybe a lot worse than what we really did. We were polite, we kind of stayed in the background, we wanted to feel it out, what was happening, and once we realized they weren't, nothing too bad was going on, things got okay. But just to familiarize people with what happened last night, just a couple noise complaints brought police, and we tried to tell them we were going to quiet down, but some of the bands refused to turn their amps down, and noise complaints kept coming in. So eventually, tired police officers at 2 in the morning just want to go to sleep, showed up and took care of business. But we had no real problems. Nobody from here got in any trouble or anything like that. But I just wanted to open the floor a little bit to have you guys talk about it. I'm not sure if everybody was there last night, but it was just a good test, really, for what Justin's presentation was all about. So,
too bad you threw a name.
what's up?
Okay.
Yeah, so Justin, I don't know if you want to come up here and like lead a Q&A or something, or is that mostly what you
I can do that. I mean, there's a few things that stand out. Like one, it was a good example of the host of like knowing your surroundings and knowing the kind of conditions that you're in. Like, he seemed to know that the best approach was not to take a hard line, like, no, you can't come in, no, I have nothing to say. And he kind of engaged them and talked them out, and he seemed to know from the beginning that they were going to be cool. And I think that was important. It's good to have like a knowledge of the police and the community that you're dealing with. And the cops did end up being like damn cool, I thought, and one like real outstanding question that I'm not 100% sure I had the answer to is, how many of the cops and which cops knew they were being recorded, and to what extent did that kind of change their conduct? I don't know. I mean, the consensus from people seems to be that they did know that they were being recorded, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, who is there anybody in here that actually was operating a camera? So there were four of us, and I know there were 2 others. We counted at least 6. So that, that was very interesting. What did people think? Was everyone else there? Like, who wasn't there at all has no idea. Okay, it's only a few, but most were. So what did people think about that situation?
I didn't think they should have been in the house at all.
Yeah, the host, apparently it was an affirmative decision to let them in.
No, it was not.
Oh, it was not?
No, I was the one standing at the door. I said, officer, I can't consent to a search. I don't own this home. Let me go get the homeowner. He laughed at me and walked away.
Okay, but we don't have that. There's no coverage of that moment.
There's question over whether or not what they did was legal. And I was talking with Scotty Morgan about this last night, and he seemed to think it would be justified. This was their 4th time that they were there on a noise complaint. At that point, that's probably considered probable cause to enter the house to break up the party.
Well, that's not even, at that point they're pursuing an ongoing violation.
Right.
They have a mandate to intervene and enjoin any an ongoing violation of a statute. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it was really the very best thing for them to. Jack Cole is here. He's our resident expert in police tactics. And Jack is going to present next, so this will be a great segue into that. So yeah, I didn't realize that they just kind of came in the house, and perhaps they're, you start to see how many gray areas there are in these interactions, because when the police came in, then obviously they had a feeling that they were obviously not invited guests, and that they had to maintain maybe a certain demeanor that on the street or in another environment they wouldn't have. So, what else? Were there any other thoughts on the matter, Jason?
There was that random sort of woman who was like the neighbor or something, and
yeah,
she really did escalate the situation.
Oh yeah.
That's not a very good move.
What's your name?
It was Sarah something.
Last name.
Feldman.
Carlson?
Feldman, F-E-L-D-M-A.
Feldman, Sarah Feldman.
We got it, Sarah.
All right, we got you. We'll be there for you.
Yeah, is that a date?
Oh, Sarah.
Freestyle sound mode.
Yeah, so for those that weren't there, what happened was there was, I guess she was a neighbor, there was another party, at the party, and she was yelling, screaming, being very aggressive with the cops. The cops were asking people, they weren't like, everyone sit down and show your ID, they were like asking everyone to get out of the house, or you know, in a calm and organized manner. And she was yelling, everyone go out the back, and the cop would yell, everyone go out the front. She would yell, everyone go out the back, and the cop would yell, everyone go out the front. And this went back and forth, like, seriously, like, probably more than half a dozen times, that exact exchange. I couldn't believe she continued to yell, and apparently she eventually put her hands on an officer and got arrested, which probably was a good thing for the host, because, well, once they dealt with her, the cops ended up being, you know, pretty cool.
What I'd like to add to that is that it's not just her reaction to the cops, but I think people's reaction to her.
Yes,
People
that's a
really
very
did
good point.
kind of get whipped up and started rushing for the back when she started saying that, even though they might not even have seen a cop. A lot of people, I saw some people dumping things. I think they really just kind of let themselves know. We knew that the cops had been there before, they've been very polite. I think we probably should have not let one person yelling kind of bring us out that much.
Indeed, well, that's really hard to do. I mean, just hearing her, I felt there was a giant break going on in the house, and like SWAT was coming in or something. Yeah. And I go upstairs, there's like 3 cops, was like, all right, everybody just come on. I was like, what is she yelling about? I had no idea what was going on. It was really confusing. Yeah, it was kind of poorly managed. I mean,
yeah, like I was downstairs, and you know, like there was this mass exodus, like upstairs, and like so I just like followed people, and then I just heard her yelling like, "Go out the back! Go out the back!" And I was like, "I need to get my jacket!" And like I was just like being pushed toward the back. Like it was very disorienting.
yeah. Well, I mean, anytime you're in a situation with, you know, obviously we've all had situations where we're dealing with police officers, and Jack's going to tell us about some of his experiences as a New Jersey State Trooper being on the other side of the interaction. You know, we've had, you know, you have that, it really feels like an alternate reality, you know, it doesn't feel your kind of emotional reactions are not the same as they are when you're talking to someone who's not an agent of the state, who's not in a situation where they might, you know, use the authority of the state in a way that's adverse to your interests. So, you know, that throwing that into the mix then makes it even more difficult. And one thing that we were talking about yesterday at the workshop, and that I talked about at the Radical Technology teaching, is that, you know, the documentation of a video camera sometimes can kind of de-escalate both sides and make it feel more like a normal human interaction, because there's an understanding that, well, this is documented and it has to be a little more real, you know, and that, though, I mean, I didn't know, I don't know that there is a solution to that besides getting her out of there, you know, that was a tough situation. Yeah. Stacey.
Oh yeah, you were saying that it's probably good for the host that she got taken away, and I did get confirmation that people in the house were really relieved because she was just causing a disturbance, and that's just a really good picture of what not to do. You know, no matter how crazy things are, how crazy you are, just be calm, you know.
Well, the host actually, I mean, you know, he kind of, I maybe said a little too much. I mean, he kind of went into detail explaining about how the party had been planned and stuff, which at first seemed like, why are you divulging all this? But he obviously, you know, he lives there, and he had an understanding of how the police in his community behave, and he was successfully able to de-escalate the situation, and you know, the cops ended up being, you know, pretty cool. And you know, there was the moment when, which I think some of us got on video, when he first made it very clear to the sergeant, she is not the host of this party. I don't know what she's doing. And the sergeant immediately turned off that obnoxious blinking light. He's like, oh, okay, so, you know, she's not who we're dealing with then, you know. And so, you know, that was interesting. And there just seemed to be generally good communication. More information, I think, was divulged than I would be. One thing that was very interesting was the rapid nature of the response. I mean, before the police were even through the threshold, there were 4, 5, 6 cameras drawn and on. You know, and you know, that was really wild. You know, and it didn't end up being necessary in turn. It didn't end up creating content that I think can ever go anywhere. It's not going to be significant evidence in court. It's not going to be compelling for other people who are interested in engaging civil liberties. But the other big question, which we only talked about for a moment yesterday, but I'd love to talk about, is to what extent did it change the interaction? I mean, police knew they were being recorded, how did they act differently than they otherwise might have? That's a question we can't ever have a great answer to, but yeah, I don't know. It's a big question, and I think that if you continue to continue to engage in that kind of activist journalist activity, whether it's with police officers or other agents of the government, you'll see a behavioral change in agents of the government that know they're being vehemently and comprehensively documented.
Did you guys have fun?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We had fun after this.
Up rolls a riot van and sparks excitement in the boys. But the policemen look annoyed. Perhaps these are ones they should avoid.